They always said my life looked perfect from the outside. And maybe they were right. There was warmth in my kitchen every morning. The laughter of my children filled the rooms. My husband, gentle, thoughtful, would kiss my forehead after work and say, "There's no place like home." And I believed him. I truly did. My name is Elena, and for a long time, I thought I had everything I ever dreamed of. 2 beautiful kids, a man I trusted with my heart, a home we built together in a quiet neighborhood just outside Portland. Not fancy, not big, but full of love. But sometimes, when life feels too perfect, a shadow slips in through the smallest crack and changes everything. I didn't see it coming. I didn't prepare for it. Because how do you prepare for the moment the person you love starts loving someone else? I met Nathan when I was 23. I was walking home from a bookstore, holding 3 novels I probably couldn't afford at the time. He was standing across the street, looking lost, but smiling. He asked if I knew where the coffee shop was. I did. I showed him. We talked for 2 hours. That same week, he brought coffee to my work. He said he didn't want the conversation to end there, and it never really did. 1 year later, he asked me to marry him on that same street corner. I remember shaking from excitement. We moved into a little house with 2 bedrooms and a wild garden that never quite stayed neat. We planted lavender. We adopted a golden retriever. We made a life, a quiet life, a happy one. I stayed home with the kids. He worked as a radio host, funny, kind, and full of charm. People loved his voice. I loved his silences, the way he held me after a long day, how he'd say, "You're the calm in my storm." I believed him until last Sunday. It was a normal day. I was slicing tomatoes in the kitchen. The kids were playing in the backyard, laughing about something only they understood. Nathan walked in. He looked different. His smile didn't reach his eyes. His hands moved too slowly. I asked him if everything was okay. He said just tired, but I knew. I've loved him long enough to recognize when something was off. That night, after the kids went to bed, he asked me to sit with him on the couch. The room was quiet. The lights were soft. My heart loud. He looked at me, then at his hands. "I saw someone today," he said. I asked who. "Her name is Leela." At first, I didn't recognize the name. But then I remembered. Years ago, Nathan had told me about her. His ex-girlfriend, the one before me. They had broken up. She moved to another city. He said it ended badly, and he never talked about her again. Until now. He said she was back in town, that he ran into her at a small cafe. They talked. Only 10 minutes, he said, but something in me shifted. I stared at the floor. My breath slowed. My chest tightened. Then came the words I feared most. "I thought I moved on," he said. "But when I saw her, I felt something. I don't know what it means. I don't want to lie to you, Elena. But I never really said goodbye to her." My world stopped. I don't remember how long I sat there. I don't remember what I said next, if anything, but I remember how small I felt. He said he wasn't planning to leave, that he still loved me, that he loved our kids. But when I asked him, "Are you planning a life with her?" he didn't answer. That silence was louder than any scream. We slept in the same bed that night, but I turned away from him. I wrapped my arms around my pillow and cried so softly, even the night couldn't hear me. The next morning, I made breakfast. I smiled at the kids. Nathan acted like nothing had changed, but I knew everything had. That day, I sat alone in the living room and looked at a photo on the wall. It was from last summer, our family smiling by the lake. That version of us looked so far away now. When Nathan came home, he brought flowers. I didn't take them. He said he hadn't seen her again, that he went to the cafe but couldn't go in. He said, "I thought of you. I thought of this home." I drove away. I nodded, but inside I wondered, did he wish he hadn't? I wanted to scream, "Why am I not enough?" But I said nothing. I cleaned the table, picked up the toys. I lived like everything was fine, but I was breaking. That night he asked, "Can we talk?" I said, "What more is there to say?" He said he was confused. I said, "I'm hurt." He apologized, but I didn't want apologies. I wanted safety, certainty, my life back, but I knew it was gone. In the days that followed, I moved like someone underwater. I cooked. I folded laundry. I packed lunchboxes. But inside, I was frozen. Nathan tried to act normal. He helped with dinner. He asked about the kids' schoolwork. He kissed me before bed. But his eyes, they drifted sometimes. His voice softer, cautious, almost rehearsed. He was trying. But trying isn't the same as truth. I started watching him. Every time he picked up his phone, every time he left the house. I didn't want to be paranoid, but I couldn't stop wondering, was he with her? Was I already replaced? Then one afternoon, he said he was meeting an old friend for lunch. I didn't ask who. I couldn't. He kissed my cheek and left. I stood at the window and watched his car disappear down the street. I sat on the floor, hugged my knees, closed my eyes. A storm raged inside me. 3 hours later, he came back. He had groceries. He smiled. "I saw Paul today," he said. "He says hello." I nodded, "That's nice." I didn't know what was real anymore. That night, we sat outside on the back steps. The stars were quiet. He said, "You've been quiet." I replied, "I don't have much to say." After a long pause, he said, "I haven't seen her again. I wanted to. I almost did, but I didn't." I looked at the ground. "Do you still want to?" I asked. He looked at me. "Yes." I stood up. My voice shook. "Then go. Just stop leaving me in the middle. Say what you want. Choose something." He said, "I don't want to hurt you." I whispered, "You already have." I walked inside and closed the door behind me. The next morning, I woke up early. The kids were still asleep, their little faces calm and unaware of the storm between their parents. I made pancakes. I folded laundry. I packed lunches. On the outside, I was Elena, the same mother, the same wife. But inside, I was unraveling. Nathan sat at the table like he always did. He said good morning, kissed the top of my head. I smiled barely. He looked at me across the table, and for a moment, I wondered if he saw it. The distance, the sadness, the weight of every unspoken fear I carried. I spent that afternoon in the living room, surrounded by quiet. I cleaned things that were already clean. I adjusted photo frames. I rearranged books. Anything to avoid my thoughts. But then I saw her, through the window, standing across the street from a cafe, holding a cup of coffee. It was her, Leela. She looked so at ease. Her brown hair danced in the breeze. She wore a soft smile like she belonged. I slowed the car as I passed. She didn't see me, but I saw her. And that was enough. When I got home, I didn't say anything right away. That evening, as Nathan helped the kids with their homework, I sat quietly by the fireplace, staring at nothing. When the children finally went to bed, I turned to him. I saw her today, I said. He blinked, surprised. Did she see you? No. He looked down. Then slowly he spoke. I haven't talked to her in days. I nodded, I believe you. Then I added, but that doesn't fix how I feel. He didn't speak. Not everything needs words. Some truths just sit in the room with you, heavy and still. I told him I needed something. I need you to be sure, I said. Not just today. Not just this minute. But soon. I can't live like this forever. He looked exhausted, his eyes tired and soft. I'm trying, he said. Trying is not choosing. He nodded. We sat in silence. The clock ticked on the wall. Outside, a car passed. Somewhere down the hall, a door creaked. And still, there was no answer. In the days that followed, I said very little. I didn't write. I didn't call my sister. I didn't tell my best friend. I just watched. Nathan stayed close to home. He helped with the kids. He made dinner. He brought me tea. He even lit candles in the evening like he used to do in the early years. He was trying. But again, trying isn't trust. One night, we sat on the couch after the kids went to bed. He turned to me. I miss how we used to be. I looked at him. Then, why did you let someone else into your heart? He hesitated. I didn't mean to. But you did. He nodded. Then he said something I wasn't ready to hear. I think about a life with her. I don't want to. But it comes into my mind, and I feel guilty. I held my breath. I waited for the pain to pass. It didn't. I stood up. I need space, Nathan. He looked afraid. Are you leaving? I said no, but I don't know if I want to stay like this. He reached for my hand. I didn't give it, he whispered. I love you. And I said, I used to believe that without question. Now, I don't know what to believe. The days that followed were quiet. Too quiet. We lived under the same roof, but it felt like we were speaking different languages, moving in different rhythms. I still made food. I still did laundry. I still helped the kids with homework. I still shared a bed with him, but I turned away. And he didn't reach for me either. Nathan didn't meet Leela again, at least, not that I knew. But the silence between us was louder than ever. Then one night I asked him, do you still love her? He looked at me, long and hard, and finally he said, I don't know what kind of love it is, but yes, I feel something. My chest ached. I stood and walked to the window. I said, "That's not the answer I wanted, but thank you for being honest." He followed me. "Elena, I don't want to lose you. I want to fix this. I want to stay." I turned to him. "Then stop holding on to her in your heart." He looked pained. "It's not that easy." "It should be," I whispered. The next morning, I packed a small bag. I told him I was taking the kids to my sister's for the weekend. He looked like he wanted to say something, but he didn't stop me. He kissed the kids goodbye. Then he looked at me and said, "Please come back." I nodded, but I didn't speak. At my sister's house, something inside me loosened. I watched my children laugh with their cousins. I drank warm tea on the porch. My sister held my hand while I told her everything. When I was done, she looked into my eyes. "You don't have to rush," she said, "but you do need to ask yourself one thing. Can you live with a man who still thinks about someone else?" I stared at the wall. "I don't know." "Then stay here until you do." That night, I watched my children sleep on the floor in their sleeping bags, their cheeks soft, their hands open. They looked so peaceful. I wondered how much they knew. Did they hear the silence at home? Did they feel the tension in the air? I didn't want to hurt them, but I didn't want to hurt myself either. The next day, Nathan called. "Are you okay?" he asked. "The kids are okay," I replied. He paused. "I miss you." I said, "I miss who you were." He whispered, "I can be that man again." I said, "I don't know if I believe that." On Sunday evening, I drove home. The lights were on. The house was clean. Nathan was standing at the door. The kids ran to him. I walked in slowly. He looked at me and said, "Thank you for coming back." I said, "This is still my home, but I don't know what it is anymore." That night, after the kids went to sleep, he made tea. He sat across from me. "I didn't call her again," he said. I nodded. "I believe you." He took a breath. "I want this life, I want you. But I know I broke your heart." I said, "You did." He looked into my eyes. "Can we start again?" I stayed quiet. Not yes, not no, just quiet. A few days later, I opened the mailbox. There was a small white envelope, no name on the front, no return address. I opened it slowly. Inside, just a single card. Plain, quiet. The message read, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come between you." That was it, no signature. But I knew it was from her, from Leela. I showed the card to Nathan. He read it, then gently placed it on the table. "I didn't know she sent this," he said, and I believed him. But that didn't stop the ache from returning. I looked at the card again. "She still wants to be part of this." Nathan looked down. "But I don't want her to be," I whispered, "but she already is." That night, I sat alone in the living room. I looked at the framed photo on the shelf, our family, smiling in the sun. I touched the glass softly. I whispered to myself, "What am I going to do?" No one answered. The house was quiet, but inside me, the storm was still there. The next days passed like soft shadows. No big fights, no big confessions, but also no peace. We cooked meals. We cleaned the house. We talked about school projects and grocery lists. We acted like a couple, but I could feel it. The distance that words couldn't reach. the hurt that flowers couldn't fix, the questions that lingered even when no one spoke. Was he thinking about her again? Was he waiting for me to leave? Was he hoping I'd forget? I didn't know. One evening, Nathan came home with flowers. He handed them to me. "I know you don't trust me yet," he said, "but I'm not giving up." I took the flowers. I placed them in a vase. Then I said quietly, "I don't know if I can ever trust you the same way again." He looked down, then said, "I'll wait." I looked at him. "What if I never do?" He paused, then answered, "Then I will live with that." That night, I went to bed early. I lay beside him. Our backs touched, but barely. I closed my eyes. I was tired of hoping, tired of doubting, tired of carrying a heart that no longer knew where it belonged. I didn't want to feel pain anymore, but I also didn't want to feel nothing. I wanted clarity, or peace, or love, but all I had was this in between, this space between holding on and letting go. Days passed. We lived like two people trying to rebuild something fragile, something once strong, now cracked in invisible places. Nathan helped more. He smiled more. He asked questions. He listened. He watched me like he didn't want to lose me. And I was softer too, but not the same. Something inside me had changed. Not bitterness, not anger, just distance. A quiet boundary where trust used to be. One evening, I was folding laundry in the bedroom. He stood at the door. "Do you want to go for a walk?" he asked. I looked at him, hesitated, then nodded. We walked through the neighborhood in silence. The sun was setting. The sky was gold and pink. He said, "I've thought a lot about us, about what I almost ruined." I said nothing. He continued, "I don't miss her anymore." I stopped walking. He looked at me. It took time, but I realized what I missed wasn't her. It was a version of myself I lost before I met you. A younger, simpler version. I breathed out slowly. "And now?" I asked. He smiled softly. "Now I want the version of me who chooses you every day, even after the pain, even after the doubts. I want to be that man again." I didn't reply, not right away. I let the wind touch my face. I let the words settle. Then I asked, "Can you live with my silence, with my healing? Can you stay even if I'm not ready to love you fully again?" He looked at me. "Yes," he said. Back home, I tucked the kids into bed. They looked peaceful, safe. I watched them sleep, and my heart ached with a new kind of love. A fierce, protective love, not just for them, but for myself, too. For the woman who stayed strong. For the woman who didn't beg. For the woman who waited, not for him to choose, but for herself to understand her own worth again. Later that night, I stood in the kitchen. Nathan walked in. He held a letter, not from Leela, from himself. He handed it to me. "I wrote this for you. You don't have to read it now, or ever, but I needed to put it all down, not for answers, just for truth." I took it, held it in both hands, and whispered, "Thank you. I haven't read it yet, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. But tonight, I sit here with my tea and my thoughts, and for the first time in a long time, I don't feel broken. I feel quiet, but not lost, still uncertain, but grounded. I don't know what the future holds, but I know this. Sometimes love doesn't disappear in a storm. Sometimes it fades slowly, silently, until you're left standing in the same place with a different heart. But healing is the choice to stay or to walk away, not from fear, but from truth. And so I stay, not because I forgot, not because I forgave everything yet, but because I want to see if love can grow again, if not the same way, then softer, wiser, slower, real. Before I end this story, tell me, where are you listening from? Have you ever loved someone